Good afternoon. Welcome in. I am Gabe DeArmond to the Tuesday Tiger Recruiting Show on PowerMizzou.com. We call it that because we do it every Tuesday, and it seemed to me to be the best day to do the Tuesday Tiger Recruiting Show. But you know, that's just me. You're welcome to suggest a new name if you have one. Might not be the longest show today for a couple reasons. Got a lot of stuff to do. A lot of Eli Drinkwitz's press conference this afternoon. And also, there's not a ton of Mizzou recruiting news, but we are going to do our best. Hopefully, you guys have some questions and can provide us a little bit of material here. I tell you who will never short you on time and never just tell you he doesn't really feel like doing it is Brandon Barnes, who is over at USA Mortgage here in Columbia, Missouri. He's got great rates. He's got great customer service. You can get in touch with Brandon a number of different ways. His email address is bbarnes@usa-mortgage.com. You can go to showmemortgage.com and get an estimate online. He's also got two phone numbers, 573-818-2772 and 573-590-0001. If you're not good at listening or you're not good at remembering either of those things, they will be on the screen on that little blue graphic throughout this show. So we certainly encourage you to get in touch with Brandon. We now are going to get in touch with Sean Williams, who is our recruiting editor, wearer of many hats, and here to talk with us every Tuesday about Mizzou recruiting. And I don't know, Sean, like what's going on, man? Not a lot.
It's pretty quiet, but you were saying about somebody that doesn't takes a quality time. I'm like, hey, that's not going to be me. I'm glad it was Brandon instead. So
yeah, no,
I'm going to short you on time whenever possible. So
perfect.
I don't know, Gabe. It's pretty quiet right now. Obviously, Missouri's looking and extending offers to some 2022 kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and whether they come to visit or not, I mean, I think it's a little bit too early to tell. I've been talking to that Christian Harrison kid. He's a DB out of Georgia, I think. And I don't think he's, like, highly interested in Missouri. I think he just took a visit to Florida and things like that. So it's really just a lot of new stuff. I mean, we talked to that Curly Thomas kid from the defensive end from Texas recently. We put that on the chamber. He says he wants to come visit in December, but he's also picking up new offers too. So he's currently committed to Cal, but he's definitely interested in Missouri. He's got some family in Kansas City, so that visit can materialize. But really, it's kind of one of those things where Missouri is looking at other 2022 kids right now. They're going to offer some new kids. Whether that interest blossoms into a visit remains to be seen. And I think a lot of visits are going to probably happen with those kids in December. They're going to kind of decide where they want to go. And I think we'll see. I think that'll be kind of the more busy time after the season's over, in my opinion.
Yeah, and most of those offers that I've seen for this year are going out to either running backs or defensive backs. Is that a little bit of defensive line, but it seems to me more like running backs and secondary?
Yeah, secondary, some D-line, and saw a new running back offer with Andrew Paul recently, another kid out of Texas. I know the DeAnthony Gadsden's the other kid from Texas that they offered in terms of taking the second running back. He was formerly committed to USC. Andrew Paul kid just run for 400 yards. So, that I guess that gets Missouri fans excited. But,
I bet it got his coach excited.
I bet so too. So yeah, we'll kind of see where that goes. I mean, Paul's kind of one of those guys like, yeah, I'm interested in Missouri, but in terms of visit dates and things like that, he's like, hey, I'll figure it out. It didn't seem like he's got anything set in stone, and that's kind of the way it's going to go with a lot of these kids. I mean, just because they got offered doesn't mean they're necessarily going to come visit. That might materialize in the next few weeks in terms of setting up dates and things like that, which might not happen until December. So.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of start here. I mean, we already started, but let's secondarily restart on some actual good news today. Blair Sanderson from our Iowa site talked to Armand Mimbo, the offensive lineman out of Lee Summit, and Mimbo told him, quote, "Iowa is a really good school, but after thinking about it, I want to stay home and play at Missouri." So that is that's not a, we'll see how it goes. That's a yeah, I'm not going to decommit. I'm sticking with Missouri, and I'm sure you'll follow up with Armand at some point, and get a little further comments. But at this point, doesn't sound like there's anything to worry about there.
Yeah, that's a pretty firm statement by him. I mean, because obviously he went up there to Iowa with Caden Green, and he got that offer, after that visit or maybe during that visit, and he told us, he's like, hey, I'd like to maybe explore that option, and kind of maybe go on an official visit there eventually. But that obviously it doesn't seem like that's going to materialize. Like I said, that's a kind of a strong statement, and we go back to the domino effect of. Caden Green's his teammate, and he's one of the top recruits in the 2023 class. Obviously, monster offensive lineman. A lot of people want him. Georgia, Oklahoma, all those top schools. So, Missouri is going to be in a fight for him. But to have his teammates still be solid to Missouri and have that connection there, I mean, that's going to be another huge factor for Missouri in terms of him in 2023 class. So yeah, I mean that's big for Missouri, and whenever I talked to Mimbo in person at the Rivals camp, I think he'd been committed for a little bit, but he just like, hey, it's a chance to be close to home and play. My parents can come watch me play every home game. So I mean, I think that was kind of appealing to him, and apparently that still remains the case.
Yeah, and look, I understand that, especially in recruiting. Every tidbit that's out there, every social media header that's changed, everything is a reason to react and overreact. But even when this initially came out, I thought, hey, the kid's excited about an Iowa offer. I mean, he saw a hell of a game up there. Right. But he just never struck me as a guy that was seriously going to look around. I mean, he was very all in on Missouri at the time of the commitment. He didn't really look anywhere else. He's one of those kids that every time we've reached out to him, he's gotten back to us with an answer, even if it was a question that, like most kids, don't answer. I kind of said right off the bat, like, look, yeah, I guess it's possible, but unless he takes an actual official visit to Iowa, I just never saw any reason to be overly concerned about that one.
Yeah, I think it was just a situation where maybe they said, hey, hey, Caden Green, bring your offensive lineman friend in the 2022 class up there with you. We'll check him out. Maybe we'll offer him. And hey, look, you get a chance to go watch a good game. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. And even after they offered him, Armand was pretty upfront with us. He said, hey, look, it's an option. It was nice up there. I might explore that option, and maybe take an official visit. But obviously, he's kind of thought things over, and it's like, hey, I'm just going to stick to Missouri. So. But yeah, I mean, look, kids, you dangle a carrot to go watch a good game up there with one of your teammates that's like one of the highly touted 2023 prospects. Yeah. Hey, why not go? And hey, if they offer you, cool. That's another option for you. But I think, yeah, I mean, staying home is going to be kind of always. That's going to be a tough sell for him.
And I'm not going to say that it had no effect that Iowa has kind of disappeared here in the last 2 weeks. I mean, they've been handled by both Purdue and Wisconsin. They're no longer in the national title race, all that. I'm not going to say that's zero factor, but I don't think it's nearly as simple as, hey, he was real interested in 6-0 Iowa, but he's not interested in 6-2 Iowa. I just don't think that's it, because if he's not interested in 6-2 Iowa, then why is he interested in 4-4 Missouri? That's not, I think, nearly as big a factor for a lot of kids as everybody wants to make it out to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people take those records into consideration and things like that. And obviously, Iowa, they at the time they were hot. They were 6-0, and now they've kind of dipped back a little bit. So it just goes to show you that every team's kind of got their flaws. So. What's the most convenient flawed team you can go to? Missouri right now, right?
Yeah, 100%. Almost everybody's flawed, in the country in college football, except maybe the team Missouri plays this week. And actually, they're flawed, but they're just so good on the other side of the ball. Nobody notices the flaws, and I'm not sure they matter. So let's get to some of the questions we've got here. The Magic Man wants to know, has Travion Ford played this year, and how does Mizzou stand with running back Andrew Paul? I can answer the first one. He played 14 snaps against SEMO That's been it. Travion Ford is clearly headed for a red shirt this year, which is not a surprise. I mean, I saw him in person in fall camp. He needs a year in the weight room to play defensive end in the SEC. He was hurt earlier, but I don't think that's the major factor there. I think he's a guy that needs a year. And before we get to the Andrew Paul thing, like, he'll never say it out loud, but Sean, I think there's got to be a little something to Drinkwitz thinking, look, best case scenario here, like we just flip everything around and go to 7-5 and we get like the Music City Bowl, right? So is it worth playing a guy like Travion Ford or, Dalen Carnell or even Tyler Macon, whoever you want to throw out there, in 5 games and spending an entire year when they're not going to be the difference in playing in the Music City Bowl and not playing in the Music City Bowl? He'll never say it out loud, but I've got to think that's a consideration for coaches.
Yeah, I think especially at this point, considering where you are and how much you're kind of struggling on defense, I'd say don't burn any red shirts you don't need to burn, and get those guys ready for next year, and you mentioned Travion Ford. It's like I said, with the exception of Mekhi Wingo, I mean, look, it's really hard for a true freshman to come in and can participate on the offensive line, defensive line, or anywhere up front on both sides of the ball. So the fact that he's only got 14 snaps on the year, that shouldn't bother anybody. I know he was a highly rated kid, but look, playing defensive line in the SEC, that's a whole nother animal. So you gotta prepare mightily for that. And having a redshirt year definitely does everybody a lot of good in that situation.
Yeah. And then Andrew Paul, I mean, do you have any real sense for where Missouri's at with him?
I mean, I think they'll get a visit because I really think, his recruiting process was kind of one of those where it's been relatively quiet since the summer. And, during the summer he had I think he had like a Colorado offer, but I mean, he visited some G5 schools like Texas State, maybe SMU, but hasn't really like popped off in terms of just heavily recruiting process and visiting other schools. So, right now, Missouri seems to be kind of in the driver's seat if they really want him. I don't know where they stand with DeAnthony Gadsden. I guess we'll figure that out. I know, you mentioned on the chamber that the December official visit for him is a possibility. I think they'll bring Paul in too. I mean, Missouri's the first school to offer him since the summer, and it's probably his best Power 5 option right now. So I don't know if any more schools will jump in the mix for him. That's to be determined, but we'll find out. But I think they'll definitely get a visit out of him if they really want him.
Okay. Depressed Mizzou fan, hopefully feeling a little bit better after a win last weekend. I mean, it wasn't the greatest win, but it was a win. How many more D linemen do you see Mizzou taking in the 2022 class? I mean, I was going through numbers last week, Sean. I still think it's probably at least 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this maybe the last couple of weeks. Maybe another high school kid and then a couple of transfers. That's kind of where we're leaning, I believe, unless you change your mind, Gabe. But yeah, I think another high school prospect and then a couple of transfers is probably on their wish list, I would say, in terms of D linemen. I mean, I know they've offered quite a few, but you have to offer quite a few to grab one or two, so, but yeah, I think they're definitely going to be searching the transfer portal and trying to see what the availabilities are. And you look, that transfer portal is going to pop off a lot here in the next 4 weeks after seasons are complete. So,
and then it's going to happen again after spring football. And maybe even again in the summer. Like when we say transfer portal, people got to understand this isn't just December 10th, right? This is December 10th through May, June. This thing's going to go a little bit. Rosters are not going to be set and recruiting classes are not going to be set until the middle of summer.
Yeah, Missouri kept adding kids throughout the whole summer, up until the beginning of the season. So, it's an all-year thing. And, that's what makes the that's what makes the transfer portal fun, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, it gives us something to talk about.
Yeah, look at our board. Every transfer that hits the portal now, the questions come up. Hey, look, this is a guy Missouri could use right now. I wonder if they're going to go after him. Right. So, yeah,
they've never recruited him. He's never shown any interest in Missouri. Missouri may not even know who he is, but definitely need to sign him. Kyle wants to know, is there any news on Deshaun Brown? I think he visited a couple weeks ago. Sean, you're going to have to help me out with this one. I remember the name. I know nothing about him.
Yeah, D-end out of Oklahoma. I've tried to reach out to him. I've got nothing in return. Same with Deion Walker as well. I think we think Missouri's in that race pretty good. I don't know about Deshaun Brown, though. I need to do a little bit more research on him, see if he's talked to anybody recently. He has not talked to me, though. I have tried to reach out on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Same with Deion Walker, too. And, look, hey, kids get tired of talking to people like me. So, it is what it is. And, I try a couple of times and then I just say, okay, well, maybe I'll try again in a couple of weeks. And, it is what it is.
Grown-ups get tired of talking to people like me. I think Eli Drinkwitz was relatively tired of talking to me by about 12:20 today.
Well, you asked him like 12 times who the starting quarterback's going to be, right?
I mean, I tried to find other ways to kind of phrase it, but more or less, yes, he was not interested in telling me.
Yeah.
I even asked him which uniforms are best. He didn't even want to answer that one.
Well, that's a tough one right there.
It is. Back to the Magic Man wants to know, even though I like Chad Bailey, is Mizzou looking at any linebackers in the 2022 class? So they have Xavier Simmons committed. Chuck Hicks is eligible this year. He's obviously not going to play much this year, but is a guy that I think you have to look at hopefully factoring in the mix next year. I think that's going to be another transfer portal thing, because – what people need to understand, especially at a place like Missouri. Now, this might not be as true if you're at Georgia or Alabama and you're recruiting like the cream of the crop in the country, but especially at Missouri, you are largely not recruiting kids for immediate fixes next year out of high school. The reality is most high school kids aren't going to come in and be ready to fix an issue on your team in their first season. So, the biggest thing for this staff at linebacker is not going to necessarily be who they sign in 2022. It's how good are Damian Wilson and Zach Lovett next year. Because I think in an ideal world, one of those guys is starting next to Chad Bailey next year, and the other one is a primary backup. And then, hey, if you can find a guy in the portal who displaces one of those guys and starts, great, but then you put Simmons in there too, and, hey, maybe you've got, by 2023, maybe you've got 4 or 5 linebackers that can finally see the field.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's trending more towards that way in terms of transfer portal. We saw them kind of bring in a couple of linebackers or offer some linebackers that were committed elsewhere, right before the season started. Like Kyle Efford comes to mind, who's committed to Georgia Tech. I don't think he's going to come in for a visit. It doesn't seem like. I know they were looking at Duncan Parham, another Oklahoma kid. They brought in for a workout. And I think they were going to kind of see what his film looked like his senior year. I haven't seen him offer the kid or anything get a little bit more involved with him in terms of just anything after that July visit. So, yeah, it seems to be trending towards transfer portal. And you bring up a great point, Gabe. Are those two guys going to give you an immediate impact next year? No, they're not.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Sean. I bring up a lot of great points. It's one of the things I really do.
I'm just trying to make you feel better after that press conference today where you didn't get your answer. So.
No, I'm good, man. Because when you go in knowing you're not going to get an answer, it's hardly disappointing when you don't get an answer, right?
Oh, okay. Well, enough sympathy for me then. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you guys coming with a few questions. And look, I mean, what are there? We got 4 games left in the regular season. Only, I guess 2 of them are home games. Is that right? Maybe.
Believe so.
Yeah. South Carolina and Florida, I think, are both at home. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. You'd think I would know. But they might have – they'll have some unofficial visitors. I'm not sure that they'll really bring in official visitors. Unless a kid just says, look, I can't do it in December. I can only do it on these weekends. Then they'll do that. But the truth is bringing a kid into Missouri in November when – hey, maybe it's going to be 55 and sunny, but maybe it's also going to be 25 and gray and really crappy out against South Carolina or Florida for a game that's going to draw, 44,000 people. They'd much rather have them in on either December 4th or December 11th when they have those 2 official visit weekends.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of teams that aren't like upper echelon teams really lean that way. And I mean, look, if you're going to bring in a kid for an official visit in November, then that probably means they're a pretty good priority because maybe they don't have, or maybe they have other officials scheduled already. But yeah, a lot of teams are really going to sway that way. And plus, really, you bring up good points again, Gabe.
Yeah,
But
I'm on a
it
roll today,
also
man. It's a good day for me.
it also, you bring in a kid for an official visit during a game day, environment, and you have to kind of worry about that all weekend. Kind of takes away from your game day prep and kind of focusing on the game. And look,
Yep.
Missouri is trying to win some games, man. They're trying to get some momentum. They're trying to, get some kind of momentum toward the end of the season to really show recruits like, hey, we're making a step in the right direction here.
Yep. We got one more question from Cam. How do you guys generally know who is or is not offered? Is it mainly the tweet? Sean, I don't know about you. I just make it up. Like, I'm just like, this kid looks like a kid who'd be cool to recruit. I'm going to say he has an offer. I don't know about you.
Really, it's kind of a feel, maybe a kid tweets it out and maybe it's legit, maybe it's not. But I think you get a pretty good sense of if it's legit or not if they actually mention the coach's name and then they talk about specific conversations they've had with the coach. Now, sometimes it may be a situation where, hey, he just reached out to me today and I just talked to him on the phone. But if they talk to him on the phone, if they mention phone conversations, they've been texting back and forth, then that's kind of a surefire way to kind of understand that it's an actual offer. And then, sometimes – hey, look, kids get offers and then they might talk to the coach's staff for a month and then it might disappear. The communication disappears. So.
I also really look at, like, if a kid tweets out an offer, I always click on his profile and find out, like, who's following him from Missouri. Like, if Eli Drinkwitz or a position coach is following him, that's probably a legit offer. If it's somebody in the recruiting office and none of the assistants are following him, maybe that's possible. But I also do want to say that the one thing media is allowed to do, we are allowed to reach out to a coaching staff and say, are you recruiting kid X or have you offered kid X? That is the one thing a coach is allowed to answer from a media member. Now, like, you can't reach out to him and say, hey, who are the safeties you have offered? But you can say, hey, have you offered this safety named, Brad Jones out of Ottumwa, Iowa? I don't think that's a real person, by the way. And they can say yes or no. So there are ways to kind of figure out what's legit and what's not legit.
Yeah, checking the likes is good. I like how you also said Brad Jones and you pick like,
Ottumwa.
I don't know if that's a legit person. I mean, there's a lot of people named Brad Jones, Gabe.
So there's a chance there is a Brad Jones from Ottumwa, Iowa? Yeah.
Probably so, yeah.
I might go through the phone book this afternoon.
Yeah, checking the likes is big, because like I said, if coaches are liking the kid's tweet about the offer of said school, then that's a good telltale sign. So
yeah, so I don't know. I feel like we've kind of covered it. Again, probably be a little bit slower weeks, and then this will really pick up kind of after Thanksgiving. But I don't know, Sean, anything you want to talk to us about recruiting? Otherwise,
No, I can't think of anything else besides recruiting that would interest anybody on this program right now. But I think it's going to really kind of the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to kind of figure out, who's going to come in for official visits in December. I think that's going to start getting a little bit of clarity. We'll start adding some names to those lists. And, and then we'll get a little bit more clear picture who the real targets are and who's out there and who's really interested in Missouri as opposed to who's not. So.
Right. All right, Sean, well, we'll let you run, man. You got stuff to do. So do I. So we will talk to you another time.
All right. Adios.
All right. Appreciate it. Sean Williams taking some time to join us on this Tuesday as he does every Tuesday. Just like Brandon Barnes, every Tuesday is the presenter of this show. Well, I guess actually I'm the presenter. He's the sponsor. But Brandon certainly has made what we do here a little more easy for us to do, I guess. So thanks to him, and you can check him out once again at USA Mortgage. At USA Mortgage is the company. But the website is showmemortgage.com. You can go there. Brandon is going to give you the best rates he can get you. He's going to absolutely be there to answer any question you have, help you through every step of whether you're buying a new house, whether you're refinancing, anything that you need to do, Brandon can take care of you all over the state of Missouri. He is in Columbia, but even if you're not in Columbia, if you just say, hey, I'd like to really give my business to somebody that helps out this show I watch and somebody that played football for the school I like. So why not give your first look to Brandon Barnes at USA Mortgage. You can get a hold of him at 573-818-2772 or 573-590-0001. Appreciate you guys joining us for another week. I got some more stuff to get to from Eli Drinkwitz's press conference this afternoon. Mitchell Forty going to join me tomorrow for the 573 report right here about 24 hours from now. We'll do it a little after 3 o'clock tomorrow. So hope you join us then. Before you leave here, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this on the podcast, which will be posted momentarily, leave a nice review, say nice things about us. We always like people to say nice things about us. Maybe we'll even say something nice about you on the next show. So thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.